voice came over a loudspeaker as I crossed the dam north of Danyang. You hear that a lot in Korea, announcements just carrying across open spaces. But this is my first proper riding weekend. 2 days north into the mountains on 125, following bikes 3 times the size of mine. There's an unspoken understanding when you ride with the bigger bikes. If there's a turning up ahead, they stop and wait. If I lose sight of them, I don't panic. I just keep going straight until someone's pulled over ahead or they've let me know that there's a turning up ahead. Motorbikes aren't allowed on the toll roads in South Korea, so most of the heavy traffic disappears onto those highways, which means I can usually catch up at the traffic lights. When we slow down at small towns or when the group takes a wrong turn also helps me to catch the pack, and there's always a convenience store somewhere to regroup and plan ahead. I was still very new to the experience, still figuring out what riding actually feels like when you're not just going around the block. There's something about being on 2 wheels on the open roads that I hadn't experienced before. It wasn't just transport. It felt like something else was opening up. And it wasn't just about opening my throttle, passing the slower vehicles, knowing I was far from the 1,000 cc's that passed me here. It was more about the freedom to adventure alone, to explore the open landscape on a motorized horse, and see what lies beyond the tourist brochures. And this location was Chungju Dam, outside Chungju City, not far from our destination. And so this is Chungju, not Chungju, where I visited the temple before. Chungju Dam is one of the largest in South Korea. It created Chungju Lake, the biggest artificial lake in the country. Today, it was just a quiet stop on the way north, a picturesque meeting point before the real climb began. So for me, this was more than just a weekend ride. Something shifted on these mountain roads. Up until then, the bike had felt like something I was learning to manage. Here, it started to feel like access. Access to places I wouldn't normally go. Access to landscapes that felt far removed from the city. And access to different ways of moving through the world. I was still relying on more experienced riders ahead of me. Still figuring out. But this was where the curiosity really started. Not just about riding, but about where it could take me next.
Ice cream man is here.
The nickname of Ice Cream Man comes from the constant ping sound from my indicator.
Danyang.
So from Chungju Dam, it was about an hour to our destination in Danyang. We stopped at a GS25 before heading up the mountain. You can get anything from these places: beer, coffee, instant food. And if you've spent time in South Korea, you'll know these modernized convenience stores on every corner. Open late, clean, and organized. We grabbed a couple of drinks for the climb. And so this was actually the beginning of a tradition for many more of the bike adventures to come. Get refreshments and find the best view at the new location. Danyang sits between limestone cliffs and the Namhan River, surrounded by steep mountain ridgelines. It's a small town, but the landscape around it feels much bigger than it looks on the map. On the bikes, we zip through the traffic and explore the quaint town briefly, before then heading over a clean-cut bridge that almost looks too designed for a small mountain place. And as the mountains loom ahead and the road bends around the river, with it comes my first real riding challenge. As much as it's a buzz climbing higher, the road just keeps rising. Corner after corner, steeper and steeper, and you think you've reached the top until finally I stall. That was the moment, trying to recover without rolling backwards. A bit of a wobble, engine too high in the revs, still figuring out the gears. This was the ride where something shifted for me, not because of the destination, not because of how we were riding. This was where I realized I still had a lot to learn. What stuck with me was the direction, not just following the main road, but looking for the road that went further. But this was where the longer journey began. The bikes would get bigger, and the real adventures were still ahead.